Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our virtual tour in the Vallée de Mai to commemorate World Environment Day today. My name is Maria Brioche. I am the SIF Education and Outreach Program Officer. Today we will be showcasing the incredible endemic wildlife of Seychelles, which are found here in the Vallée de Mai. Please send in your comments, your suggestions, and questions. We will try our best to answer all your questions. But before we start, I would like to give you an overview of what will happen during this tour. After my introduction, the site manager of Vallée de Mai, Mr. Marc Jean-Baptiste, will give you an introduction about the Seychelles Islands Foundation, about Vallée de Mai, and also about Aldabra Atoll. Later on, there will be other presenters to talk about the world's largest and heaviest nut, which is, of course, the coco de mer. Other presenters will talk about the yellow crazians, reptiles, the black parrot, and then we will end with a demonstration of the dehusking of the coco de mer nut. Please stay tuned in and hope you enjoy this virtual tour.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the Vallée de Mai UNESCO World Heritage Site. So Vallée de Mai UNESCO World Heritage Site was inscribed in 1983. It is one of the world's smallest natural UNESCO sites. So it was inscribed for the protection and conservation of the endemic species, so such as the famous coco de mer and also the parrot. So the parrot is that visit the Vallée de Mai. The country was aware the conservation of not only for the site but also to support Aldabra. So at that 1988 as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it is the world's second largest race coral atoll. Okay, it is home for over 100,000 endemic giant land tortoise, and also it has a rich marine biodiversity. So why do Vallée de Mai entrance fee ticket money support conservation? Because Vallée de Mai is situated in the second largest island in the granitic island, which is Raleigh. Down to Aldabra, it is over 150 kilometers. So logistically, it's a very big challenge for people to go and visit atoll. That's the reason why financially Aldabra cannot sustain itself in terms of conservation work. And then this is where Vallée de Mai joins in conservation work that is being down on the atoll. For this tour this afternoon, it will be an introductory tour to the Vallée de Mai. So you are free to ask any questions. So if you're ready, please do join me. So on my left here is the ticket selling area. So this is where normally all visitors buy the entrance fee ticket. And on my right is the souvenir shop for the Vallée de Mai. And this souvenir shop normally would promote all the local artisan work, such as craft work, etc., etc. And it is a branding shop where all these species are being promoted. Species found in both UNESCO World Heritage Site, meaning Vallée de Mai and Aldabra. So we try to. This is the very first plaque of inscription of the site. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site inscription plaque. If you notice here, so all the vegetation, there's close canopy, which gives the indication of this majestic palm forest where the 6 endemic palms are found growing here in the park. So all the online viewers, our apologies for the slight technical issues with the reception. It's not so clear here. Why? Because we are in the canopy. That's why the probability of you being going there will be interruption because we are in the closed canopy. So please do bear with us, and we continue. So all viewers, we are here at the entrance at the monitoring gate. So where the stars say we are here. Basically, Vallée de Mai has a path network of 3 main paths. So the longest one, which made the circular north, circular south. So this will take about 3 hours depending on the interest of the visitors. And then we have a second largest one, that's the central circular north or circular path. And this will take 2 hours for visitors to appreciate, to enjoy it, to visit. And then finally, the purple route is the most commonly used one, and this will last for only about an hour. And interestingly, it is very important to state that Vallée de Mai UNESCO World Heritage Site is one of the only natural parks in Seychelles whereby visitors with certain disability can reach using a wheelchair to some extent. For instance, here on the map, someone on a wheelchair can access from visitor center to this monitoring kiosks and then down up to the junction. Okay, so there is access for that. And so for people to enjoy visit, we encourage people to take as many photos as possible, and then please do not smoke, because if you look at this, these are all materials that are very flammable, and the probability of someone who is smoking to risk the forest of catching fire is very high. That's why we do not encourage to smoke at all, because it is a protected area, and also the risk that it goes with it. And stick to the path. There are fascinating phone underneath that could potentially be damaged if visitors goes off the path. And try to be very quiet. If I stay quiet, I could hear the black parrot whistling. So you will hear more about the black parrot later on. Hear that? Okay. And also, there's no litter bin inside. We encourage visitors to put all their litters into the bin available here at this point, so as not to drop litter inside the forest. Okay, and normally this is where visitors stamp to validate their entrance fee ticket. And with this COVID situation, we also encourage using all the protective measures to ensure that visitors are safe whilst visiting the park, as well as having the poster also indicating how visitors should prepare themselves prior to visiting the park. Okay. We have now arrived at the table. So I would leave you in the safe hand of Emma. Emma is the Assistant Field Research Officer. So she will talk to you about all the fascinating facts on the Coco de Mai, the endemic species of the Coco de Mai, the world's biggest nut. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you, Mr. Mark. So one of the main species that makes up the Vallée de Mai over here is the Coco de Mai trees. The Coco de Mai is endemic to Seychelles, particularly Palin and Curious. So the Coco de Mai trees have large leaves measuring 4 to 5 meters wide and 7 to 10 meters long. So when it rains, these leaves act as a funnel to the rainwater that goes down. So it channels it to the ground through the trunk, and this is why areas which are most wet when it rains are around the Coco de Mai trees, to the base particularly. So the male Coco de Mai tree, the male and the female, they're on separate trees. The male have long catkins, as you can see over here, with little flowers on them. So what happens, it's either the wind or mostly geckos. They come to feed on the pollen on the flowers of the male catkins. So these are the tiny flowers of the male catkins, which smells a bit like basmati rice. So when the geckos feed on them, the pollen gets stuck to their body. And then they go ahead on the female trees when they're receptive, which means when they're producing the nectars, the geckos go leak whatever fluid they're releasing and then transfers the pollen onto the female flowers. So this fertilizes the female flowers. When they get fertilized, the female flowers will grow until it reaches the size of a big nut. This will take around 7 years for this to happen. So they turn into the brown color and then they drop down to the ground. After they've dropped down to the ground, they will take about 5 months just as a nut. That's the average time. And this is the shape of the coco de mer when it's not in its husk. This is another coco de mer, not in its husk, and you can see the shapes can vary. So it can be either smaller shape, more elongated, more rounded. We can also have, they have 2 bilobes. It's more flatter at the back. So the other one is facing the other one that way. And we can also have triple ones. As you can see, there's one, another one, and another one. It also happens that we have anomalies. So the coco de mer is not always perfect. So when the coco de mer starts germinating, it can spend at least 13 months just germinating. And as it grows as a seedling, it stays attached to the coco de mer. When it's growing, it can take about 7 years for it to stay attached to the nut, and then it detaches. So the coco de mer takes about 20 to 25 years for it to reach maturity. And its lifespan is 250 years. So that's how long a coco de mer tree can live. So I say thank you, and I will give you back Mr. Mark to continue the tour.
Thank you, Emma. So in the meantime, please do not forget to send in your comments, questions, so that we can answer as much as we can. Okay, let's proceed in the forest. So here is another species of palm, one of the 6 endemic. This one is called the Decenia nobilis palmis, or the common name salad millionaire. Why salad millionaire? In the old days, in the past, people had to chop one down or had to chop just to obtain a salad. So hence the name salad millionaire. It has the efflorescence and then a spiky pocket that protects the efflorescence from being predated by other animals. Another interesting endemic species that we can find in the park is this one. This one is called the latagnefoil. So in the old days, latagnefoil was widely used in construction of houses, whereby roof of houses, even the side walls, were touched with latagnefoil. And at the kiosk where we were standing a while ago, it is covered with the latagnefoil. Another interesting species, which there are several among the endemic species of the pandanus. This one is the Seychelles pandanus. A lot of stilt roots, so to support the main trunk, and this one is endemic to the Seychelles. We have now arrived to the next expert, So I will leave you in the safe hand of Constance. So Constance is the yellow crescent expert who is going to talk to you about the yellow crescent. Why? Besides talking about the endemicity of the Vallée de Mai, we have also a lot of challenges. And today you are here to learn about the challenges that we are facing as a small UNESCO World Heritage Site. Over to you, Constance.
Hi there. So just a few words on the yellow crazy ant, or what we shorten to YCA here in the Vallée de Mai. Yellow crazy ants are one of the top most invasive species in the world. In fact, they are one of the 10 most invasive species in the entire world. They're so pervasive around the globe that we're not even sure where they come from. We currently think that they probably come from Asia. So why are they so successful? For three reasons mainly. They are a tramp species, they are voracious, and they are resilient. A tramp species hitches a ride on cargo and commercial transport all around the world, which is how they've spread. YCA are able to predate on animals much larger than themselves by spraying these animals with formic acid. The animals then become blind, they can't really run away very far, and that gives the ants an opportunity to eat them. They have an interesting relationship with sap-sucking insects called scale insects. These scale insects suck the sugars out of plants and produce a type of sugar in the form of honeydew. So what the yellow crazy ants do is they protect the scale insects, and in return the scale insects give them sugar. They are resilient in many ways, but the most important of ways they are resilient is their ability to come together and to work as a team. So multiple queens and multiple nests will come together and will form what is known as a super colony, which will have far more ants who can collect far more material to eat and can attack far larger prey items. So quite a formidable opponent for us here in the Vallée de Mai. That's it from me. I'd like you to meet my colleague Jessica Mumu, who is the lead project officer on the YCA project.
Hi everyone. So I'm going to talk to you about the YCA project in Vallée de Mai. So it's been more than 5 years since SIF has been doing continuous survey on the YCA. And with all this, SIF had to take more action into how to control the YCA. And from 2018, we saw covering the forest floor of Vallée de Mai, and they were crawling everywhere, and they were actually species that were victims of YCA. So with a lot of strategies, brainstorming and fundraising to get fund, SIF was able to form a task force for us to be able to control the YCA. And we all know that from controlling YCA, we need to do a lot of surveys. So some of the surveys we are currently doing are mollusk and gecko and skink and crab, also pitfall surveys. These surveys help us to able to understand how does YCA impact the ecosystem, the distribution of some of the species. And when it comes to baiting, we have two types of bait. We have the liquid bait that we use in the bait station that we can see over there, and also we have the ant off granule. The ant off granule, we spread it in the forest floor, and for it to be able to be successful, we need to leave it there for 6 hours, so without rainfall window. This baiting takes a lot of effort, and it takes internal and external staff of SIF to be able to do this project. And also, apart from baiting, we also do surveys after baiting for us to see what's the effect of the baiting in the forest floor of Vallée de Mai. We have a plan also to do the outside of Vallée de Mai, and this is a future plan. Even though we're talking today, this is an uncontinuous project, and we hope in 2 to 3 years time we in YCA, but a very high increase in the species that can be found in Vallée de Mai. So now I will pass you to questions. If we have questions, we'll answer the questions, and then I will pass you to another presenter.
Hi there, so there's a question from Leroy. Why are the yellow crazy ants called yellow crazy ants? And this is a good question. They're simply called yellow crazy ants because when they get scared, they scatter around and act all crazy. And they're yellow.
So now I will leave you in the good hand of Monica, who is the parrot, the Black Parrot project officer. Over to you, Monica.
Hi. So I work with the Seychelles black parrot. We've been monitoring the black parrots for over 10 years now. A big part of the monitoring program here is that we fit coloured rings on each leg of parrots so that we can ID them when they move around the island. In fact, we've got two that are, we start to wonder, two that are sort of sitting somewhere obvious. So in moving around the forest, if we ID their rings, it allows us to learn where they travel to, if you always see them with other parrots, with the same ones, if you see them in a group. Currently we have 335 parrot rings of a population estimate of about 1,400. I'm hoping you will be able to see them. So if you look up here on this branch, there's a black parrot sitting very peacefully, and there's another one on the palm fruit there that you may or may not see. So we know that the one on the fruit, sitting on above the fruit, is a female who in the past has had a nest in this area. She's known as Silver Silver because her ring colour is Silver Silver. So she's one of our most successful breeders here. She's actually the first bird that the project ever ringed. So we know that she's at least 12 years old because she was ringed as an adult 11 years ago, and she's still splendid moving around the forest and breeding. So Terence here also works on the Black Parrot project, and he's going to talk a bit about how we monitor the cavities. But the only other thing to know about them really is, so during the breeding season, the females have a unique breeding call. It identifies them from every other parrot, and once you begin to learn them, you can pick out, oh, I know that one, I know there's another one over there. People often, when they hear them, they try to imitate the call because it sounds lovely and they think that maybe the parrot will be attracted to them. Unfortunately, this can cause a lot of stress for the females, because, well, for all of the parrots, because they think that somebody else has stolen their call, has come into their territory, and it can cause them a lot of stress, and in the past it has caused a lot of damage to our breeding parrots. So we ask that anybody visiting the valley refrains from whistling to try and get their attention, because it really doesn't achieve the effect that they want. So Terence is going to tell you a bit about some of the cavities that we monitor.
Hi everyone. I'm going to give you a talk about how we do our nest monitoring. Normally we use a baby cam and also an adjustable pole, and this pole we use to get access into the nest with the camera. Why we use this pole? Because it's more light and it's easy to carry, and also an infrared, but we can see inside the cavity itself. Because in the cavity it's a bit dark, and most other time cavity what we found here in Vallée de Mai is in Coco de Mai trunk, and we also have cavities in broadleaf trees as well. And the comparison between these two, Coco de Mai is more obvious. We can see Coco de Mai everywhere, and if it's a dead Coco de Mai, it's easy to see. But for broadleaf trees, it's a bit difficult to find if you have a cavity. That's why we have this baby cam. This baby cam will help us how to see inside this bowl. I will show you that. In this bowl, there is a cavity. I'm going to put the camera inside the cavity, and Monica will show you on the monitor.
So what you can hear in the background there, that is a black parrot's alarm call, because a bulbul, another native species, has just come and disturbed her, and so she's getting a bit upset, and she's, that call there, she's telling other parrots that there's a problem, a threat in the area. They don't like bulbuls.
This parrot making a lot of noise because it's got a bit disturbance. That's why it's trying to protect its nest.
So this is literally just a standard baby monitor that we've adapted, put it on a rope, and then using the handheld monitor here, then we can see whatever the camera shows us. This cavity here there is a cavity in the tree that you actually can't see from anywhere on the ground, but we once happened to see a bird go inside it and disappear, so we knew that the cavity was there. So if you look on the screen, this is the inside of the cavity, and as Terence lowers the camera down, then we begin to see inside it. You can see how deep it is, and then eventually we can see all the way to the bottom and see that there's nothing inside it. So yep, so now we saw the bottom just then, and so now he can take this out with minimal disturbance to the birds. We can easily check what activity is going on in the nest. At this time of year we don't expect to see anything in the nest because this is not currently their breeding season. So this is why it's fine to check them right now.
Normally the cavities is the cavities that we suspected the parrots are using. That's why we are monitor all these cavities in VDM and also outside VDM as well. Now I'm going to show you another cavity that was used previously and now it was abandoned because it was damaged. And this cavity previously was predated by rats, and it was used by silver, the same bird that is using this cavity in the previous season. This is the cavity I'm talking about, and also because it's close to the trail and it's make a lot of disturbance because when the guide with groups making a lot of noise, making a lot of disturbance to the bird that's using this cavity as well. Please, I'm just advised before I leave, don't whistling because this is put a lot of stress on this bird. Now I will leave you in the hand of Emmanuel and Jake. Emmanuel, he is the research field research assistant, and Jake, he is the tourism coordinator. Jake and Emmanuel will talk a little bit more about the eptofauna inside the Vallée de Mai. Pass on to them.
Okay, hello everyone. If we take a sneak peek under here, you'll see this big, beautiful snail. This here is a coco de mer snail. As its name suggests, you'll find this on coco de mer palm trees throughout the Vallée de Mai. This snail is endemic to Praslin. It's quite round, it's flattened, and other than the African land snail, which is introduced, this is the biggest of our endemic snails.
Okay. Hello everyone. So if we can just take a look up in this in the crown of this coco de mer tree. Okay. Okay, if you guys follow my finger. Okay, you see right about there? Yeah, that's it. Next to the catkin feeding. So that is a green gecko or a day gecko, and its scientific name would be a Phelsuma sunbirdii. Bearing in mind that Phelsuma have two species, the sunbirdii and the astriata. This one I can tell is a sunbirdii just by looking at it, just from its size alone, because an astriata is smaller than the sunbirdii. Okay, so if we continue this way,
More snails.
we've got snails all over the place for you guys today.
So on this leaf here, you'll see another snail. This is Tropidophorum. Again, this is endemic to the Seychelles itself, and not much is known about this snail species.
Okay, so we're still talking about snails, but this one is a snail without a shell. So in Vallée de Mai, it used to be more commonly found, but these days it's a bit rarer. The Seychelles white slug. Okay, it usually is seen on the petioles of cocoa de mer trees. Sadly, right now I haven't seen any for me to be able to show you guys. Okay, and this white slug is endemic to the Seychelles as well. To move off snails and slugs for a moment, we have 3 species of geckos other than the Phelsuma sunburgii and Phelsuma astriata, which is the Aeluronix trachygaster, which its common name would be the giant bronze gecko. We have the Aeluronix seychellensis, which is the medium-sized gecko, the bronze-eyed gecko. And then we have the smallest one, which is the Aeluronix tachyscopius, which is the dwarf bronze gecko. Sadly, I haven't seen any to be able to show you guys. I do have a picture though. So this is, should I give you guys a moment to guess what it is of the 3 species? Well, you guys have a moment to guess. Those of you who guessed right will find out. This one is the Aeluronix trachygaster, which is the giant bronze gecko. Okay? Now, unfortunately, back to snails again. There's one more snail we have, which is the dancing snail. Okay? It isn't necessarily found here in Vallée de Mai. However, in adjacent areas, they can be found. And one way why it's called the dancing snail is because we presume that it's a defense mechanism making its shell. There is another species of snail that does a similar action on mahe, but not to be confused with our dancing snail here on Prana. Okay? If we come this way. There we go. Good.
So here we have the praline snail. So this is another snail endemic to praline. This is one of the snail species that we monitor in gecko and mollusk surveys. And again, snails in general, they're quite slow moving, and they're very vulnerable to habitat destruction and the threat of invasive species, so like yellow crazy ants.
Okay, and if I take you to the top of the leaf, so just to show you how Vallée de Mai is high in diversity with the creatures, we have a praline snail underneath, and at the top here, if you zoom in here, if you take a look, zoom in nicely, that is a baby cocoa de mer snail. So if you guys were paying attention, and those of you who were viewing earlier saw the big one my colleague Jake was talking about, this is how the baby looks like. So that's the cocoa de mer snail. Okay, now not to jump off heptafauna guys, but my colleague Irma earlier was talking about cocoa de mer having the single lob nut and the bi-lob nut. Okay, if we come this way, if you guys are able to focus into the tree above there and kind of follow my finger. I know it's quite a difficult task, sorry guys. Where is it? There we go. This nut, this large nut here, that is a bi-lob nut. Okay, so which means there are 2 nuts in one. I will take you over to Mr. Andrea. I believe Mr. Mark will introduce him. Mr. Mark?
So good afternoon again. During that team here, so Mr. Andrea is the security officer, as well as Mr. Andy Norris, who is a senior security officer. So we'll be having a small demonstration of dehusking of the cocoa de mer. But before we start with that, ladies and gentlemen, it will be nice if you could guess the weight of this one, of that. Okay? Any clue, please do sending ASAP. We'll take your comments, your guess the weighting, and then you will see it for yourself. Okay, so I will pass it on to Andy. Sorry, Darwin. So are you ready with your guess? Because you're going to see it in real life now. I guess you're ready now to see the weight of the fruit. So we count until 5 and we'll give you the real weight of the fruit.
Okay. 7.97.
So ladies and gentlemen, this one is 7.97 kgs. So it's a fairly small one. So now you will see the demonstration of dehusking the nut, and then we will see the real weight of the nut inside. So Mr. Nadia, over to you. So you could clearly see the inside after we have removed the husk. And I would like to say a big congratulations to Laura Gordon who managed to get it. And the records for Laura Gordon was, if you could please. So it's 8 kilograms for Laura Gordon. So the fruit, the coco de mer fruit was 8 kilograms. Now, another guess the weight. So if you could please, you've all seen the nut which has been unhusked. Now guess it without the husk. Okay? Guess the weight without the husk. And then we will give you again the real weight. Okay? So we give you another 1 minute to guess the weight of the real nut. Okay? So whilst we weigh the nut, okay, so let me show you this. When the fruit ripes, there is, okay, overripe fruit. So this gives us an idea when we have a ripe nut. And if you could smell it, it's yummy. Okay, I can pass it around to smell. So this is very strong. Are you ready with the weight?
5.54.
5.54. Okay, so it's 5.54. And in a few seconds, we will give you who has given us the closest estimate to the real weight of the nut.
Thank you. 5.5 kg. This one, close your eye.
So the closest estimate is Claudia. Well done, Claudia. And you've managed to estimate the weight of the nut to be 5.5. Okay, congratulations once again.
Okay, everyone, thank you for participating with us. Happy Environment Day!
Well done.